Welcome back, everybody, to Three-Man Booth. We are kicking off the NFL season, Week 1. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. Cheers, guys. I have had an open drink, so I'm toasting. There you go.
I have my little plastic cup over here.
Excellent. We're going to lay down with our picks against the spread for Week 1. ATS picks, 2 apiece, and then we'll let that roll forward into our preview. Phil or Bud, whose picks are first?
Phil, why don't you go first, Phil?
All right. So it kind of rolls off what I said last week about the Niners taking a step back and losing a lot of people on defense. And we're not really sure, what's going to happen with them because traditionally the loser of the Super Bowl has a little back of a comeback to earth season. So I'm going to take Arizona. Let me just find out what this number is because I forgot it. I lost it. So Arizona is getting 7 points in San Francisco, in which we all know that means nothing because there's – actually, I don't know. Are there fans in San Francisco, Dan?
I don't think so.
Not in California.
No California at all. Okay. So there's no home field advantage whatsoever. I'll take a full touchdown with a second-year Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Lock it in.
That's a lot of points Week 1. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Give me the full – I love the full touchdown. And then my second's going to be in Indianapolis, who – spoiler alert, you might hear me talk about later on in the show. But so Indianapolis is playing Jacksonville, and they could be giving them 15 points, and I'd still take Indianapolis, but they're only given 8.
Are they at home or away?
They're playing in Jacksonville.
Okay. So there may be fans there.
Fans.
Yeah, they might.
Well, even if they're allowed to have fans, there may not be anybody there anyway.
That's true.
But those are my. Listen,
they have a swimming pool.
They do. Yeah, you're right. I'm a favorites guy. I love playing favorites. I know that's the sucker thing to do, but I love favorites.
Yeah, I'll give you my moxie when it's my turn. All right, but who you got for Week 1?
I'm taking Pittsburgh over the Giants. As I mentioned last week, and as we just got off of our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the Giants defense, and I think Ben has a lot to prove this year. I think James Conner is coming into the year healthy. Pittsburgh's defense is arguably one of the top 5 in the league. I think Smith-Schuster is really going to get involved in the offense this year now that Ben's back. I don't see how Pittsburgh doesn't cover the 6.5. So I'll take Pittsburgh.
You got it a little sweeter. It's only -6. So that's
even better. Yeah. Even better. I'll take that. And then just want to make sure that I get the spread right on this one. I'm taking Philadelphia over Washington. Philadelphia giving Washington 6 points. I think Washington, as we talked about last week, I think Washington is probably one of the worst teams in football this year. I think they have a very tough schedule, and I think there's a lot of stuff going on. New coach, new GM, new president, a lot of turmoil in the team. So I think we're probably going to see a repeat of Washington, unless we don't. Like Phil said, we haven't watched preseason, so we have no idea what these teams actually are, right? So we don't know if they're good or bad, indifferent, whatever. So we're really just kind of going off of what they were last year, and Washington was terrible last year.
Yeah.
And they really didn't make that many adjustments, so I'm going to take Philadelphia, even though they're not as healthy as probably they should be, but I'm still going to take Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's good. Week 1's one of the hardest weeks to pick. I like to pick teams getting points, and so that's my theme this week. I'm also taking 2 road teams because I don't think home field advantage means a lot, especially Week 1 of the season. I'm taking Green Bay Packers +3 at the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings are kind of on a downturn. I'm not sure that they're going to be as good. They lost one of their top receivers. And Aaron Rodgers,
He's pissed.
New year.
Aaron Rodgers has something to prove.
And he's got a field goal. I'll take the points with Aaron Rodgers against almost anyone, and I like the division game going to the Packers. I'm also taking the New York Jets +6.5 on the road at Buffalo. Again, not much home field advantage. These teams played so close last year. The Jets won the second game by 2 points. They lost the first game by 2 or 3. 6.5 is too many for me to pass up. I would have probably skipped over 6, but the extra half point, I know it's under a touchdown. So sure, if Buffalo wins by a touchdown, I lose with that. But I think this is a close game at worst. Both teams got pretty even defenses. I'm not sold on Buffalo's offense. I don't actually think they make the playoffs this year. I'm not really high on the Bills. So that's part of my pick here. And I like 6.5 points. It's too much for me to pass over.
I can see Bud chomping at the bit. So
I know. Hey, the Jets play good week 1 of the season.
I don't mean to laugh at you, Dan. Because obviously I value your opinion, but as a fellow Jet fan, I don't see that at all. I don't think.
Right, Bud said before that Stephon Diggs is going to have a fantasy monster game week 1.
We'll see. Greg Williams is going to have Josh Allen on his back. If that guy can throw the ball accurately, maybe they'll keep it close.
Who's rushing the quarterback, Dan? Who?
Quinnen Williams.
Did they sign you?
Year two. It's the sophomore glide, right? Glide up to the top. I mean, they got so many young players that are unproven. I don't know. I'm not a fan of what the Bills did this offseason outside of adding Diggs, and I like Josh Allen, but the way he plays does not seem sustainable. And this is another divisional game. Division games are notoriously close, so I think 6.5 is kind of just like the anti-Jets Vegas wager right now. So,
Dan, do you think the Giants will keep it closer than the 41-17 prediction in the USA Today article I sent you?
I do. I honestly have a hard time taking Pittsburgh -6 because I think the Steelers win, but I'm not sure that they can win by a touchdown. The Giants have a bad defense, but Daniel Jones week 1 with all of his weapons healthy, this could be a shootout. I don't know what the Pittsburgh defense looks like until I see it.
I obviously I picked Pittsburgh, but I think the only way that they would not cover is that they're up so much in the fourth quarter that Daniel Jones and the rest of the offense basically just it's like garbage time points, right? And that's where you kind of get into this flux of, do they cover the spread? Do they not cover the spread? Because if they're up by big in the fourth quarter and all of a sudden there's garbage time points, I mean, we saw this like maybe, I want to say 5 years ago. Phil can attest to this. We were in the fantasy league. I had Blake Bortles as my quarterback. Blake Bortles almost brought me to a championship because it was garbage time football for 2.5 quarters, and he was putting up 50 points a game. So, is it going to be something like that, or is it going to be a little bit more competitive? I don't think we really know.
A bit of an aside, I don't know if you guys watched The Good Place, but there was a character on the show that was obsessed with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Blake Bortles, and in the show he dies. Someone has to break it to him that Blake Bortles is no longer the quarterback of the Jaguars. It was like one of the funniest moments ever because they played it to the real life scripts.
Lori loves that show. She thinks that is a very, very funny show, and I've never watched it.
Oh, it's good. But the fact that he's obsessed with the Jaguars and Blake Bortles, like Blake Bortles is the best quarterback of all time. It's just amazing. And then I think he got on the Minshew bandwagon for the final season. All right.
Well, Minshew did the same thing. I mean, even 2 years ago, or was it, I don't know if he was a rookie last year, but Minshew was putting up
last year.
It was in garbage time. It was a garbage time, and everyone thought Minshew was so great. Then they signed Nick Foles, and I mean, now Nick Foles is gone, but
he's going to be starting for the Bears, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of questions with that one. Bud and I were talking before about Chicago. Are we going to get Chicago from 2 years ago when they were a couple of field goal a double donk away from going to the NFC Championship game? Or are you going to see that last year where they were just a doormat?
Yeah, and I mean we're not going to know till October because September football is notoriously meaningless more or less unless you are. I mean even 0-4 teams. So
especially this year where there's no preseason. I mean you got to think that September football is going to be kind of a crossover of preseason football. I mean, none of these guys have actually game planned for other teams or figured out how to make contact against anybody other than your own team. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks.
And it doesn't help my situation, but you got to think that the teams that have had no changes from last year are going to be the ones that are going to probably do well the first few weeks because think of all the people, all the players that moved. You've had 0 to no training camp. You had no OTAs. There was no preseason. There's no continuity with any of these new players. Yeah, Stephon Diggs is over in Buffalo and Tom Brady's down in Tampa Bay, but they're just doing they're doing practices with their helmets on and mesh shorts. It's not game speed yet.
My money's on the coach quarterback duos that stayed the same because that's kind of the most important relationship on the team. And
Right.
that's why I really worry about the Patriots. I mean, they've been awful quiet, and Cam Newton's saying all the right things, but they got no chemistry or history together. So
I want to know how long it takes Bill Belichick to squash Cam Newton coming in with those fedoras and the feather in the hat and the scarves and everything else. Because that is, I mean, I know that we joke and we laugh, but that is so not the Patriot way, right? I mean, they don't put up with any of that crap. So he comes in walking in after a loss or whatever, and he's doom and gloom, and he's wearing, he looks like Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch. How long is that going to be?
I'm not sure he does it, to be honest. I mean, if that's really their culture, the Yankees don't put up with it. They make you shave, and everyone kind of just knows that going there. I'm not sure I guess we'll see after week 1, because I don't think it's going to go well.
Well, are they even going to have press conferences after the games anymore right now?
But they're all Zoom.
Oh, are they?
Oh, that's more shenanigans, right? Where are they going to be Zooming from? I guess we don't know. Yeah. Well, we've noticed there's a good amount of divisional games week 1, which probably favors those teams because they'll know those teams better. So I guess that's why Pittsburgh, the Giants, could be right for a blowout because the teams don't know each other as well as, say, the Jets, Bills, or Packers, Vikings. But we don't really see that in the lines. Vegas has really played it safe with a lot of 3 and 2 point lines this week.
Yeah, and that's typical for the first couple of weeks because you're not going to predict a blowout. And again, you're only going off of last year's results because there's nothing to go off of right now. Luckily, there's been, we say it every year, we hope for no injuries in the preseason and training camp. And I just saw Von Miller's out for the season with an ankle.
Maybe. Is it accurate? Is he done?
Well, if he has the surgery, then he's done. I don't know if it's official yet. This actually just happened, like an hour ago. But
yeah.
I saw that he was questioning if he was going to be out for the season, but I don't know if it's happening or not.
Yeah, so I mean, it's from that standpoint, thank God there's no major injuries because usually you're good for at least 1 or 2 major names that aren't going to play.
Well, and we're going to find out, teams are going to figure out who their starting running backs are and whatnot, too, because so many teams have these committees, and that doesn't last. It's laughable how many teams think they're going to do a 50-50 running back split. It's very rare.
Well, the Jets are going to do it. They're going to do 60-40 with 37-year-old Frank Gore.
Bud predicted on the podcast that Le'Veon Bell will be traded in season.
He would have to have a stellar 2 months of football for any team to pay the rest of his contract and offer something the Jets are worth taking.
But like I said to Phil, okay, so let's think larger picture here, okay? Next year he makes $13.5 million, right?
Right.
Chances are he's probably going to play this year, and they're going to cut him to get all that money relief off the cap. They have 4 number 1 draft picks over the next 2 years. So if you could trade him, and even if you get a 4th round pick,
they're going to have to pay Darnold next year. They need to extend him.
Right, they're going to have to pay Darnold if they think Darnold's the quarterback. I mean, and knowing the Jets, I mean, they could think of, whatever.
I'd be surprised if he plays his way out of an extension. I'd be shocked if he does that badly. So
I hope not, because I really believe that. But as I said in the podcast,
badly. It's going to be about being frustrated and just causing a distraction. I think what Bob was trying to say before.
For Bell, yeah.
Yeah.
But, Darnold
but what I said in the podcast earlier is that, yes, Darnold's in his 3rd year, and he played well at the end of last year. And I think I truly believe that he is the quarterback that can bring us to the next level. The question becomes, does he have enough weapons around him to make the team competitive offensively? And I don't know if he does, because his wide receiver play is suspect at best. Herndon was hurt all of last year, so we have no idea what we're going to get out of him. I think that he's going to have a big year because he's going to be a safety net for the quarterback. Le'Veon Bell
is the number 2 receiver.
More than likely, yes, you're absolutely right, Phil. But what is Bell going to give? What is Gore going to give? What is Perriman going to give? What are these guys going to give that have been brought in? And you just traded away your best player in Adams. C.J. Mosley isn't coming back, so your defense automatically is going to take a step back. I don't know. I just don't know.
So I think that the offense has two things going in its favor. So I read between the lines on that 60-40 Bell-Gore split, and I think ESPN spotlighted how Bell caught the ball a lot for the Steelers, and he was playing out of the slot.
What is that?
Motorcycle.
Oh.
He's playing out of the slot, right? So technically, if he's the slot receiver while Gore's in the backfield, that's the 40%. And if he's in the slot, he was uncoverable for the Steelers in that position. And they didn't do that. They just didn't do that at all last year. So if they're smart, they'll do that this year. And that's got him on the field in a favorable matchup without being the running back in the backfield. So I'm reading between the lines there, and that's kind of probably where he's leaning with the 60-40. Gase is awful talking to the media, and he really doesn't care how he comes off.
He's a douchebag.
I don't really put a lot of stock into his quotes and how they're interpreted because he's Bill Belichick without any of the credibility, so they just rip him apart because he just sits there and it's done. So
let me ask you this then, Dan.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put him in the slot, right? And
right.
I'm all in favor of it. As long as you can get him into the offense, I think the Jets will be better. That means you're taking Crowder off the field, right? Because Crowder is your slot receiver.
Potentially. Yeah, I mean, you could slide him over, do trips on the other side. I don't know.
This offense isn't built for trips on one side or the other. I mean, it's built for a two wide receivers set, and then
Yeah, but you're saying
last year they ran a lot of offense with two running backs in the backfield.
But you're saying you throw Bell, Crowder, or Bell, Perriman, and Herndon in trips with Crowder on the other side, and those three guys are going to get covered. Like that's like a mismatch in heaven. I'm just saying you got to get creative because you don't know who your playmakers are. But the other thing that just got going in their favor is that this is a contract year for Le'Veon Bell because he is going to get cut if he plays poorly, or he will be traded if he's not contributing. And he has every incentive to be a Pro Bowl level again like he was before, to earn the money again like he did before. The Jets are going to attempt to allow him to do that. I don't know if it's going to be successful, but he wants to earn his money, and they're going to attempt to allow him to so that they can make the playoffs. Whether they keep him after the year, we'll see how far they go this year. But we have no evidence right now to the contrary, and so those things at least playing in their favor.
As long as those 60% of his snaps are going to be all 100% goal line carries, then I don't think he's not going to really be that upset about it. No,
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, if he's scoring touchdowns, it doesn't really matter if they're winning or losing. He's putting up his.
Right. If he's the runner between the 20s and then gets taken out and vulture touchdowns from Gore, then you're going to see some fireworks.
That's what I said last week.
Yeah, there's one caveat. If the Jets, their first offensive play of the season, hand it to Le'Veon Bell and he runs straight up the middle for half a yard, I take back everything I said. That was what they did all last year, and they failed at it. And they just ran it like they were just running their head into the wall. So if
I can almost guarantee you, the first play of the game, Bell will get the ball. Now,
if they run that exact play where it's just like off tackle right, crash into a line, and they don't go anywhere because it's the first play of the season.
Just like I can bet you Barkley will get the first play of the game on Monday Night Football. I take it. I will bet my house on that.
I'm praying for play action, just something to mix it up. So
I told us about years ago when Beckham was still on the team. Do exactly that. You play action to the running back. Everyone's going to be like, oh, it's the first play of the game. It's going to go to the running back. Everyone knows it's going to go to the running back. And then just Beckham goes down the field and scores a touchdown. They never see it. They never expect it.
Does Cam Newton run a bootleg for the first play of the season? No, they never expect
probably
it.
Not. It's probably going to be a handoff.
They never expect it.
So here's the question. The Patriots offense has never been set up for bootlegs.
No.
Right?
No, they've had zero mobility.
For 20 years, they've had a non-mobile quarterback. So does this mean that Josh McDaniels is going to have to change his entire offensive scheme? Like,
he could probably just open up the playbook more.
Open up the playbook, like.
Well, or he's going to use the exact same playbook and make Cam look like a genius. I don't know. I could see either scenario, but Cam's not.
I don't know, man.
He's not a dink and dunker. So
But there's the thing: if Cam does well, Belichick will get the credit for being the head coach, but it's really Josh McDaniels calling plays for Cam to make him shine, just like he did with Brady.
yeah, I worry they don't have a lot of offensive weapons either. I mean,
I can't even name the. I'd have to look it up right now. I couldn't even name you the starting wide receiver because Edelman's in the slot now. I think I don't know the.
Well, they have a promising rookie.
Nikhil Harry, I know him.
Yeah.
You didn't see him play last year, so you know nothing about him.
No.
I don't think he barely got on the field last year.
We don't know who's starting for them at running back yet again. We never know who's going to start at the head for running back.
Sonny Michel, I think, is active, but I think he's still injured. But I heard yesterday or today that he's on pace to play in week 1.
Okay. Most players are on pace for week 1, like Perriman with the Jets. I don't know if he's going to make it. But are you guys? We'll get to our Super Bowl picks in a moment. I know you guys already made them. Are you on the Browns bandwagon this season or off of it? I'm so torn whether they're going to.
I think because everyone jumped on it last year and got thrown off of it. I think the Browns are going to have a sneaky good season because they upgraded their offensive line. Baker's in another year. Chubb is Chubb might lead the league in rushing yards, to be quite honest with you. And no one's going to see it coming. I will because I have Chubb in fantasy. So I'm hoping for that. But, the Browns could, be a sneaky good team because everyone's so pissed off that they put them on this pedestal last year and they were completely proven wrong. So no one's going to be picking the Browns to do anything this year.
They have way too much talent to not do anything competitive. I think the challenge with them is that they play in a division where Baltimore is Baltimore, right? Lamar Jackson's going to be Lamar Jackson. Yeah. And Pittsburgh, because Ben is coming back, they're going to be a much improved team. So where is that spot? Are they the third new playoff team? Can they have 3 teams from the AFC North make the playoffs? I don't know. But they would need, in order for them to even be considered to make the playoffs, if they're not going to be the third playoff team, they would have to win the division, right? So that means that they're going to have to probably win 11 or 12 games. And I don't see them winning that, but
yeah. I see a lot of 9-7 in the AAFC, and that's going to get a lot of teams into the playoffs this year, so that's achievable for Cleveland for sure. Why don't you guys give me your Super Bowl picks since we're heading towards the end of the show here? I know I got to make one on the spot, so I'm curious who you guys have. I know you ran through it all in your podcast.
I'll go first. I picked Indianapolis. Like I said earlier, I think they have one of the best, if not the best, offensive line. They have a nice young running back in Jonathan Taylor because Marlon Mack's not going to be lasting the entire season. Let's call it like we see it. Their defense is very good. And yes, they have Phillip Rivers, but he doesn't have to sling the ball downfield anymore. He just has to, not screw up. And because he has a ton of weapons around him, and I think that just their O-line and D-line and just defense in general is going to be very good.
Who do you have beating?
I didn't get that far. I just had to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Come back to me. I'll give you that in a second. Because I'll think about that because the NFC I think is a lot harder to predict, to be honest with you.
Okay. But who you got?
I got Kansas City over New Orleans.
Oh. Okay. So there are 2 teams I really like in the AFC and 2 teams I'm particularly high on with the luck potential in the NFC. I like Pittsburgh and I like Kansas City in the AFC. And I like Green Bay and I like New Orleans in the NFC. I don't see a whole lot of change at the top, and I do think these old veteran quarterbacks with something to prove at the end of their career are going to kind of own this bastardized season. Which one will go out on top? Aaron Rodgers is not retiring if he wins another Super Bowl. I think that Drew Brees will. I'm on the spot here. I haven't really deduced all the numbers, but I like the Saints. I like Drew Brees riding into the sunset. He'll do it. I was hoping Tom Brady would do it. I can see Drew Brees riding off in the sunset. So I like the Saints right now here without any games under our belt.
Yeah, I know Kansas City seems very chalky to people, but who beats them? I mean, they are so talented on offense and defense, and even though we talked about this in the podcast, Houston jumped off to a 21-0 lead in that playoff game, and then from there on, it wasn't even competitive. Like, he just took over the game and they blew him out. So there hasn't been much turnover in regards to talent on the Kansas City. If anything, they got better.
We'll see
on the offensive side of the ball.
If their home field advantage was really a big advantage, then we'll see that play without it this year. Otherwise, I have a hard time disagreeing with you. I mean, my brother, he's really high on the Chargers, but I don't think that they're anywhere near Kansas City.
The Chargers what? Maybe their defense. That's a.
He likes all the playmakers, and he thinks Tyrod Taylor can do enough with that offense. So.
But
Tyrod Taylor has shown that he can't do enough.
and besides Keenan Allen, who else they got?
Still got Eckler. They got.
I'm talking about receiver. I'm talking about receivers though.
Tight end, right? Henry's tight end, so he's solid. I don't share his sentiments, but I think it's going to be harder for Kansas City because of Baltimore, because of Pittsburgh, because of Indianapolis, and maybe because of a surprise out of the AFC East. I'm not sure who it'll be.
You know what? I'm not, and I said this earlier. I'm not sold on Baltimore, and I'll tell you why. Because Lamar Jackson has shown to be a great regular season quarterback, but when he gets into playoffs, he is nothing like he is in the regular season. Until he can prove to the rest of the league and to the rest of all of us that he can win in the playoffs, I don't buy Baltimore at all. Maybe it was a regular season team, I'll buy it. But as a playoff team, he's put two stinkers together back-to-back years where they were by far the favorite in those games, and they haven't been able to do anything, right? So let's not all crack our eggs on Baltimore. Yeah, they're going to be a great regular season football team, but are they going to be able to take the next step? And until they're able to do that, they're just another team to me.
Yeah, I agree. They put up big numbers, but don't do anything with it. I have a fantasy aside, unless you guys have any more thoughts on these Super Bowl picks.
No.
So
Good.
I did my auction draft today, and right before the draft started, I picked like probably 5 or 6 guys per position that I wanted to draft. I ended up, everybody on my roster is somebody I picked before the draft started that I wanted to take. One player aside, Carson Wentz, I ended up with. He wasn't. I didn't identify him in advance. I didn't. Aaron Rodgers. It scares me because I either had great instincts and crushed it, or was an absolute mess because there's no middle ground. Because you don't ever get all the guys you think you're going to want, and every single player I think I want, I don't know how to feel about it.
So do you go stars and scrubs, or are you more balanced?
Well, my keepers were very high priced, so I spent a lot of money on Ezekiel Elliott and Travis Kelce before the draft started because I kept them. So I didn't spend big on anybody else. But I went and pushed for Wentz and pushed for Phillip Rivers because I wanted to spend on quarterbacks. I also already had Devin Singletary.
No Daniel Jones?
The price got too high. So.
Well, like Bob was saying, if the defense is going to be so bad as everyone is predicting, he's going to be fantasy gold because he's going to be playing from behind in the last quarter and a half. He's going to be putting up numbers like crazy.
You guys, if you haven't done an auction, people tend to overpay early, and Jones got nominated early on. And so, quarterbacks shouldn't go for much more than $10. It's kind of silly, and he was up there. And I'm like, he's not better than Wentz, who I paid the same price for. But I paid the same price, and he doesn't have the track record. But he might be. I mean, Rivers, I spent $1 on. Nobody wanted him. I'm like, what, really? So that was a steal, in my opinion. But I'm scared that I really got everybody I thought I wanted, and I'm like, oh, it never happens.
Hey, I was in a snake draft last week, actually, this time, and it was a league I just joined, brand new. The team I inherited was absolute dumpster fire crap, right? So I kept literally nobody.
Yeah.
I got every single person I was targeting in that draft while 20 guys were already kept in front of me. So much like you, either I got what I wanted because I know what I'm doing, or it's going to be a complete disaster.
Here's to us both raising the championship trophies.
Listen, I have a couple of championship trophies that need to come back here.
You have the one from last season, right? You won your league with Bud?
Nope.
Oh,
I lost. That's the one that's coming home. That's the one Bud thinks he's going to win with Christian McCaffrey over there.
Oh. Okay. See, I forget.
Lori wants that on the shelf in the
on the mantle, in the living room mantle.
Put it on the thing behind you so it's in the shot next if you win it.
I will do my best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay. Or you could do your own custom Zoom background with the So you guys league, you have keepers? Are you happy with your teams? What's it looking like?
Yeah, I think my team's okay.
Yeah, I took a bunch of first-year guys. So I got Cam Akers. I got I took the guy Trey. What's the guy from the Lions? But now Adrian Peterson signed, so that kind of bumped him down a little bit. But I'm rolling. We'll see. I kept Ridley and Chubb, so I like that foundation already.
I got Ridley too. I like Ridley.
I love Ridley this year.
I'm high on the.
And I kept DK Metcalf and
Kittle.
Oh, good choices. Okay. Yeah, I got the 4 guys, but football's back. This is exciting. Hopefully, we won't be crying about our teams losing next week.
And we'll be back next week to bitch about it.
Yep. Well, we'll do week 2 first, so that we can save the sadness for later. All right, guys. To week 1. Yes.
Cheers, fellas.
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.
Woo.